Hi Muses! I wanted to quickly come on to talk about how you just get back into the flow of things, especially when you've been feeling a little stuck or stagnant or just, not feeling it. The hitting the ground running, I always love that idea of being able to keep the ball rolling, keep the momentum going. I'm always all for that, especially with your creativity or productivity or inspiration or motivation. But sometimes you just have seasons where the flow kind of runs out and you have a bit of an ebb, and it feels like, just like any season you're in, it always feels like this is going to be it forever and you're never going to be inspired, you're never going to be productive, you can't get that sense of energy going and everything feels really sluggish. And I just had a little season of that last month, and it was a lot of both of like needing that rest, but at the same time also going through a lot of internal changing of things. And this time of year is when you start reviewing the previous 6-12 months and thinking about the gaps between where you are and where you want to go, and whether or not you've achieved everything you wanted to achieve. And if you're ambitious like me, there's always a gap in front of you. But at the same time, taking this time to look back and to see how far you have come. But I understand, especially with creative work, which is what you're here for, is how do you get back into that flow again? Like when you feel like you've been out of creativity for a long time, how do you get back into it? And so I'm just coming on here to kind of get all that live video algorithms going on Facebook. I'm going to be inside a event called Raising Your Vibe soon, in about half an hour, to talk about creativity for confidence and connection, because I am really passionate about not just connecting to your creativity and having that kind of connection, but knowing that when you are connected to your creativity, when you allow that to flow into your life, not just for special projects or not for just only for people who can draw and paint or play music or sing and dance, but also that creativity is in everything else that you do. It's a way of seeing, it's a way of being. And when you connect to that and allow that flow, that's when you can hit the ground running again. This is when you can embrace all the connections between yourself and the world and your spirituality and how you show up in the world, and that flow and connection and creativity, inspiration ripples out into your life. And this allows you to build confidence in who you are, what you value, what you want to say, what you want to do, as well as kind of bridging that connection between where you are now and where you want to go. And that requires your creativity. It requires your ability to stay on the path. It requires you to have confidence in your creative voice, in all those things, right? That's what I'll be talking about in that group. I'm going to post it in the comments below if I can find this video, so that if you want to join, you can check it out. Replays will obviously be available when you're in that group. So I hope to see you in there. There's going to be a whole bunch of other speakers as well, talking on all things that can help you, give you practical tools to help you raise your vibe, to connect to your self-worth and self-care, and how to give yourself that confidence. And yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be cool to learn from all these speakers, and I'm one of them. So definitely join in there and have a look. And I would love to see you on there live. Let me put that in. Right. So how do you get into the flow of things? If there's been a season of feeling stuck and stagnant, the temptation is to think that this is where you're at forever. And sometimes that always feels like that when you're in that spot, because you're living in this present moment. And we're the kind of people who, because we're humans, we like to just be dramatic and feel like this is all there is. We forget that this too shall pass. And we apply this even when everything is good and everything is great, and we forget that this too shall pass, not in a negative way, but in the fact that you need to appreciate where you are at right now. And it's the same with if you're feeling like you're stuck and stagnant, you can appreciate where you're now. This sense of ebb instead of flow can be appreciated if you can take it as part of the process. If you can take this time to really reconnect back to why you want and miss your creativity, what it is gifting you that you don't get when you're in the zone and in flow and feeling all those inspirations and getting all that stuff done and being really super productive and all those kind of things. If this is part of your process, then you can gather up all the energy that you need, all the inspirations, all the kind of almost frustrations at why you are not doing the creative work, being as productive, all those kind of, and being as inspired and really showing up like on fire and passionate and in flow and in the zone. All that frustrations can build up. Then you can hit the ball running. You hit the ground running, not ball, hit the ground running. And so one of the things that I like to remember if I want to feel like that, like I allow myself to feel stagnant and stuck and kind of wallow in that space of I don't feel inspired, I don't feel like it, I don't feel like doing this thing, and I don't want to be productive, I'm really tired, of all those kind of things. Because as a mama with 2 kids, I am tired, I'm always exhausted and very easily can hit burnout without even realizing it and not having any time for it until like someone gets sick, which is what I try to avoid, because by that time it's too late and it only kind of compounds. And so one of the things I always have to practice, even though I do this all the time and I'm accepting and embracing this time of ebb and being stuck and quiet and internal and not as much flow as I would like, is to embrace the imperfection of it all, embrace the messiness of it, to understand that it's not when everything is perfect and falling into place can I then start the momentum going, because that's the case. The ball has stopped rolling, and it's always going to be a lot harder to get it started again, which is why I always say it's always a lot easier to just maintain a momentum than to restart it again. And so this is where you get to practice and put into place the things that you're going to need, so that if you do need to slow down, you can slow down without completely stopping. But what happens when you have stopped and you want to still get back into it? When you embrace the imperfection and the messiness and you allow the inspiration to come in but nothing's coming out, eventually that frustration and that inspired flow can come out, but it can also be easily sabotaged by you, because you're feeling like I'm not prepared, I'm not ready, there isn't enough time. You know, you get a flash of inspiration, you're like, oh no, it's too late, I need to sleep, or I don't have the tools ready. But that's the thing, that you are probably getting those little flashes, and there's probably some tiny step that you can take to get back into it, but it feels insignificant. It doesn't feel like it's big enough or good enough or special enough to really get the ball rolling again or to really hit the ground running. That's the mistake. Don't make that mistake. If you get that flash of inspiration, even though you've been feeling stuck for a while and it feels insignificant and it just feels tiny, even if it's something like, oh, maybe I could just, instead of doing a whole cooking dinner from scratch thing, you're just like, I'm going to make myself a peanut butter sandwich on toast, right? And really making that effort. And this is where mindfulness comes in. This is where you're recognizing little doses and baby steps of connecting to your sense of creativity. And sometimes that's writing, and instead of writing and doing a 1-hour journaling session, all you can do is write a sentence today that's really connected in a conversation with yourself, or with your muse, and that is all you have today. That's actually okay. That's actually great. These are little drips, right? Instead of the avalanche and flow and outpouring of inspiration and creativity and productivity that you are looking for and almost waiting for, that doesn't come unless you allow the little drips and do something with it. Even if it feels like, oh, it's frustrating that you couldn't get more and you don't quite have the tools, and you were hoping for a proper painting session or a full whatever it is, and you don't have enough time for that. But just allowing those little drips then gets you back. It's actually a gift as well. It helps you get back into practice with this thing that you've been stagnant and stuck for a while. And knowing and embracing the messiness of it means that when you get back into it, it kind of, you know, isn't great. The stuff that's coming out isn't that great. Like if you haven't been painting for a while and you get back into it, it's probably not going to be good. You haven't been cooking for a while and the thing that you cook is probably going to get burnt and not be that fantastic. It's just peanut butter on toast. But those little steps of getting back into it, it's almost like just stepping back into the room, or the stepping back in front of the easel, if you want to use painting as a metaphor, because that's what I do. Just be able to step back into it, just to even have 5 minutes to really think about and having that internal conversation of what you would do next, and what if you had an hour spare, what would you do, and really form those things. We forget that in these in-between times, these little cracks, you have the chance to allow those little drips to come and to take action. 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there, even though it feels insignificant at the time. As you put all of these in place, this is when the drips starts getting more and more frequent, and then that's when you will be able to hit the ground running, because all of these things have set you up so that when that avalanche and that flow and that tap is turned on completely and all the water comes rushing out, you can hit the ground running. Does that make sense? So even though now at this time of year, almost everyone is just getting ready to just close everything off, and they're already looking at 2020 and just wait until next year and really take the foot off the pedals, so to speak, you still have time. You still have time to allow those little drips and those little inspired sparks to kind of spark a little something, even if they feel insignificant. And I think if you can practice turning that thought around and have that mindset that it isn't insignificant, and that even just like a baby learning to walk, even though one step is not that great and they keep falling down, but each one adds up. Each one adds to your muscle memory. Each little tiny insignificant connection with that spark allows more to come through. And so, you know, you don't have enough time, you don't have the tools in place. Well, then this is those little drops. That's 5 minutes, 2 minutes. You get that pen ready, you get that paintbrush ready, you make that playlist ready, and you have these little doses, and you're probably missing out on little moments of connection with your creative flow, with your inspiration, with your muse. And if you can get back into it, that's the practice, really. It isn't even about making the thing. It's about that practice and that connection. And that allows you to then be prepared and ready, because everyone thinks you have to like wait until next year and you have a set amount of time, and you've cleared the table and you've tidied up and you've gone on a special retreat. That's when you can then sit down and start the project and really get that creative juices going. And that's most people, you'll find when you sit there, you'll be like, I don't have anything. That's because all those times before, when you didn't have time and didn't have the tools, but you had these little sparks of inspiration and these little flashes of insight that you could just take 2 minutes of action here and 1 minute of action there, of journaling, or even writing the notes down of that brain storm and that brain dumping all these ideas that just came through in between while you're waiting in line. Those are the things, those little drops is what's going to be able to help you hit the ground running. And then you can really, it will feel like you've just suddenly stepped into flow again, when really it was the practice and the work was done while you were in that place of feeling stuck and stagnant. Those little flashes, those little peaks that, you know, feels frustratingly short and not enough and insignificant. If you can practice really connecting to that part, that's when you will be able to be prepared and have all the things and really take advantage of when that huge avalanche of flow, inspiration and productivity and insight comes through, and you can create that project that seemingly comes out of nowhere. But it didn't come out of nowhere. You have been preparing for it all this time. So I just want to drop that on you. I hope that that's been super helpful and valuable. If you would like more on me, definitely make sure you're still following my page. If not already, check out that Facebook group that's in the comments. See if I can, nope. And I will see you in there. You can check out my speaking section, my turn, which is going to be on, I'm about to sneeze, creativity for confidence and connection. I'm going to go through my notes and really get myself into that zone. If you like more of this kind of conversation, you need support and help to help you really connect to your creativity, to really connect to your muse, even in the busy season, especially if you can look at this time, even though it feels like this is not the best time to start a whole new thing or to really get back into your creative work or to be even more productive or start a whole new morning routine or whatever it is. Because it's so busy, there's all this stuff happening. What if you could change your mindset, which is what creativity is all about, change the way you're seeing it and seeing it, this is the perfect time to start that thing, to get back into it. Because in all that busyness, you're going to have to find a way to start with what you have and use what you have available now, which might not feel like a lot, it feels insignificant, but if you can get into that practice of just looking out for those little moments now in this busy time, that prepares you to be able to hit the ground running in 2020 because you're already prepared. You've already done the practice. You've already got little bits. So imagine how much more you will get when you have even more time and more tools and feel even more prepared. But if you wait until then, you're still going to have to spend that time and energy and attention getting all these little things done when you could be getting into the flow now, despite the busyness, despite the feeling like you're unprepared, because I totally know what that feels like. And if you want support with that, if you want help to be able to find the clarity on what your next chapter is with your creative work, whether it is painting, music, writing, or just planting a rose garden or learning something new that really requires your creative energy, finding that clarity, finding the courage to be able to take those next steps and to be able to add more creative work into your life in a more consistent way and to really find that connection with yourself, with your muse, with your creativity. And you would love to have a community so you don't feel like you're alone and you're the only creative around and it feels like you're a bit crazy and messy and all this stuff and people are telling you, no, you should wait until everything is prepared. You don't have to. I would love to be able to support you in any way. Definitely check out the videos on my page or check out Muse Mojo. You'll find it on my banner. You'll find it on my website. Muse Mojo is my village for muses just like you who want a community to connect to their creativity, to build a life of joyful purpose in connection with their muse, which is you. You are inspired by beauty and creativity and all that life has to offer, but you also know you're being called to inspire others with what you do, whether it is that rose garden or that cake or that painting. And that's what being a muse is about. I would love to invite you to join me inside Muse Mojo. It is the lowest investment and most affordable way to work with me and be part of my world where I have these conversations all the time to help you connect back to your creativity and to your muse and to find that clarity and confidence and courage and community. I would love to see you in there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.